For the first time in the 162 years of the history of the Waco Regional Baptist Association, we had to conduct our annual meeting last year by Zoom and did not gather in a church building. We are grateful to be able to be together this year here at Columbus Avenue, celebrating what the Lord has done to sustain and even prosper us during this challenging time. Disaster relief teams have been active.
Hello, I'm Sam Yates. I'm one of the Blue Caps for our Waco Regional Baptist Disaster Relief Unit. I'd like to take a few moments to tell you what we do and how far we've come since we reorganized under WRBA. The COVID presented a pretty good problem to us. We had to adapt. We went from hands-on training to online training. I'm glad to say now that we're back to hands-on training. We have a big training day set up in November at First Woodway. When we deployed during the worst of COVID, we had to adapt also, but everything turned out okay. We didn't have any COVID-related incidents. Even with COVID, we increased the number of our volunteers. We now have 19, which is a 50% increase. Okay. In the past years, we deployed 6 times to major deployments for 3 hurricanes and a tornado. We deployed with our chainsaw unit to cut trees off of homes. Then we deployed twice with our mud out unit to clean out flooded homes during the big freeze and to a flood in Lake Charles, Louisiana. During the time between, we did many non-disaster deployments around this area, removed fallen trees and broken trees from the homes of elderly and disabled people in the area. TBM as a whole, we had 305 professions of faith this year. TBM has many good and faithful chaplains that deploy with us. They are a great blessing as they minister to the spiritual needs of the people we are there to serve. I'd like to thank all our volunteers. They're truly the hands and feet of Jesus on earth, tending to God's people in need. Without volunteers ready to deploy, we cannot do what we do. Thank you and God bless.
The jail ministry continued to minister inside the county jail through pre-recorded worship services and now in-person services every Sunday.
The goal of the WRBA Restorative Justice in Jail Ministry is to demonstrate God's love so that others can find true freedom in Jesus Christ. One of the primary ways we pursue this goal is through weekly worship services at the county jail on Sunday afternoon. Traditionally, we have assembled teams made up of individual volunteers to run these services. As the ministry expands, we are shifting our focus to empowering churches to engage in restorative justice jail ministry. The idea here is for churches to put together teams who will lead one Sunday afternoon worship service each month. Teams will need to include a licensed minister to preach, a worship team, and several volunteers to greet and engage with inmates. If you can find the people, we can help you navigate the process of getting your people cleared to serve in the jail and provide you with a time slot. Over the past few years, we have built relationships with jail administrators and developed a process for effective ministry. It would be our honor to walk alongside your church as it explores this important ministry of the body of Christ.
Our college ministry at TSTC was formally concluded this year by our coordinator, Caitlin Keeling, but it is continuing under the direction of Jeb Barr and the FBC Elmont.
So this past year with COVID has been difficult for TSTC ministry, just like with everyone else. We had to go online for over a year through Zoom, and our Zoom ministry brought us down to just 2 or 3 people coming pretty regularly. We went back in person in June at Village Oaks Apartments, which has been very welcoming to us, and we immediately had 5 or 6 students start coming back, and then after the break between summer and fall semesters, we've had quite a few new people show up just in the last 3 weeks. We had just last night about 10 people show up for the first time from the diesel mechanics department, and so students are showing back up. It's been a real joy to see them coming, and some are coming just for looking for relationships because they're new freshmen, just like any other new freshman anywhere else, but some are specifically looking for somewhere to plug in and to rediscover their spiritual walk and to do something that is their own apart from how they grew up. And so it's really been interesting to see this group starting to come together. And so our hope is to form a community of guys and girls who just have Christ at the center of why we're meeting together, that are building up one another, and that eventually the hope is that they then go and build others up. And most of these that are coming right now, they're not involved in any church. They're completely separated from the church, and so the hope is that they will, as they identify greater with Christ as the center of their life, that they'll actually get plugged into local churches and become functioning members there. So my hope is, again, is to build community, to invest in some of these guys personally. I've already had the opportunity to meet with a couple of them one-on-one, and it's been awesome. And so the hope is just to keep building on that and to establish that core group of guys and girls that are ready to dig together and then go out and be active in their faith.
The work of gathering for fellowship for pastors largely transitioned to weekly Zoom meetings. Throughout this year, groups of pastors have met regularly for the encouragement, sharing of information, tips, and accountability.
Hey everyone, it's Pastor Robbie Kirby from New Hope Baptist Church, right outside of Riesel. I want to thank Tim Randolph and the Waco Regional Baptist Association for everything they have done and meant to me. The men on Monday mornings are priceless. They've gotten me through some really dark times and some really rough times. Their friendship, their love, and their support. I don't know how I could have made it through the pandemic without them. And so I want to thank Tim, and I want to thank all the men on Monday morning for supporting me and loving me and encouraging me to keep moving forward during these last few years, which has been pretty hard. And so I want to thank you guys. God's light has shone through you all. God bless you.
Hey, this is Pastor Debbie Rarick of Beverly Hills Baptist Church. I am excited to be a part of the Thursday morning pastor's Zoom call with Tim Randolph and other area pastors. First of all, it's confidential. I work in recovery ministry, and that is vital for recovery ministry as it is in other ministries. But to have the confidential space where we can have authentic community, where we can come together and share and listen to each other, pray for each other, pastors being with, listening to, and praying for other pastors. It's an amazing, authentic pastoral community. Secondly, it's remote. It's so convenient to get to. I go outside for this meeting, step away from the office and get to have fresh air for the meeting. I can be at the meeting when I'm traveling, when I'm out of town. And so it's authentic community that's very confidential, very convenient to get to. And it's such a blessing in my life. I love it. I consider it a resource for me as a pastor. God bless.
Well, my name is Joe Bailey. I'm pastor at Spiegelville Baptist Church, part of the Waco Regional Baptist Association. And I've had the great honor and privilege to be a part of the Monday Pastor's Zoom call that Tim Randolph, our director, has created and organized from the very beginning days of the COVID pandemic. Even today, on a weekly basis, we still are able to gather. And for me, it's been a great source of encouragement. As pastors, we really talk about what we all as churches and as pastors are going through this COVID pandemic. So I am grateful for the Zoom meetings because it does provide a great source of encouragement for me. Sometimes as pastors, we feel very isolated. We feel like we're the only ones facing situations in life today. But when you meet with other pastors and other church leaders, you realize that we're all facing these situations. So it's been a great time of strengthening, of encouraging one another, and I'm grateful that our association provides that opportunity for our pastors to gather together and to meet in such a way. So thank you, Tim, and thank you, association, for often behind-the-scene works that are being done, but are great sources of strength and encouragement for pastors and churches.
Our director, Tim Randolph, helped several churches through the pastor search process. Our technology team was stellar as they assisted with a number of churches with their problems with streaming their worship services. Training for ministry excellence shifted to webinars and Zoom calls. We held Zoom meetings with interviews with epidemiologists, church historians, and even on how to preach in front of a camera. It wasn't a perfect year, but by the grace of God, most of our churches continued strong and resilient in ministering the love of God to their people and their communities.